Third one we have priority scheduling. What it does, priority scheduling, what it does, it gives preferential treatment to important jobs. Important jobs. What it states, it simply gives preferential treatment to the important jobs. As the name suggests, for giving the preferential treatment for important job, for selecting important job, it will use the concept of priority concept. Right, guys? So what any job having higher priority means has higher chance of getting CPU at earlier stage, right? Means processes with highest priority to be processed first by CPU. So in this algorithm, the deciding criteria or deciding parameter for scheduling of any particular process will be priority of that particular processes, right? And this time we are assuming it as non preemptive algo. Means it could be considered in both cases, but right now we are discussing it as non preemptive cases, right? Means if there is a running process in the CPU, then you cannot interrupt the CPU for any new process, right? So every process, if it want CPU, then in that case CPU must be free. If it is running any process, you cannot interrupt CPU for new process, right? That's why it falls under non-preemptive case, right? And in some cases, in conflicting issues, in some cases, if two jobs have equal equal priority, then what we have to do? We have to use FCFS fundamental for selecting process for CPU scheduling, right? So what is priority? Priority is totally decided by your OS or processor manager. What we are discussing, the priority of any particular process will be decided by priority will be decided by OS, right? Operating system, or we can say processor manager, right? And on which basis OS or processor manager decide the priority for any process, any incoming process, or there could be many criteria OS can use, but most importantly there are some criterias like total CPU time required, total CPU time required by process. What it states, what it means, simply jobs or process with higher requirement leads to lower priority. Lower priority. And in vice versa, jobs with lower requirement will leads to higher priority. Higher priority means if a process required CPU for long time, it will be it will be a chance that OS will give lower priority for those processes, right? Second criteria could be possible criteria could be memory requirement. Memory requirement. Similar to CPU time requirement, if a process needs larger memory or having larger memory requirement, that means it could be the chance that OS will give those processes lower priority, means higher the requirement, higher the memory requirement leads to lower priority, and lower the requirements will leads to higher priority. That means OS simply what it is doing by this, it is simply managing its resources so that it can increase the throughput of system, right? If in the last lecture we already discussed, if the large process we select large process earlier, uh, that means the small process will get into the condition of starvation. That's why for proper utilization of its resources, it will give priority according to their needs. Either it will be CPU time requirement, either it will be memory management and memory requirement, right? Third could be IO requirement. IO requirement. In the lifetime of a process may need IOs, different peripherals. So according to their need, if any process needs larger number of peripherals, request larger number of peripheral devices, that there could be chance that it will get low priority, right? Means large IO requirement leads to low priority from the OS, and small IO requirement or fewer IO requirement will lead high priority. And some other factor could be like these are the basic requirement. According to basic requirement, OS will judge, or OS will give the priority for to the process, to the incoming processes. Fourth could be fourth could be deciding factor of priority could be amount of time spent in the system, already spent in the system, right? If some process is due to the priority issues, if any process having higher priority lower priorities, that means it will get chance low, it will be the low, there will be the low chance of getting CPU. So if any process is lowest requirement, lowest priority, having lowest priority, and that means it is already in the system and waiting for its turn to get CPU. That means it is spending some time in the system. So maybe the chance that that particular process may get into the starvation, right? So for this starvation, for stopping for removing this starvation condition, we use aging funda. Aging concept here means what it aging concept states. It states that after regular clock cycle, or after some time regular interval, or we can say interval, what system will do? It will increase the priority of the low of the process which may be in starvation, right? It will improve or increase, system will increase priority of processes in the system. It could be for all process. Maybe the OS will increase priority for all processes, or for some selected few processes, or for few processes, right? So if any process is having larger time spent in the system, that means it may be the chance that that particular process could go to starvation condition. So that particular process should not go to the starvation condition. To ensure this, operating system uses aging concept, right? Where what it will do, it at the regular interval of CPU cycle, clock cycle time, or regular interval of time, after some regular interval of time, it will improve priority, or it will increase the priority of the processes in the system which are in the system and waiting for the CPU. There may be those two chances. Some operating system could uh, increase priority of all the processes in the system, or for some selected, or for few processes in the system, right? For few processes, right? uh, Sorry, it's processes. So these could be the uh, factors upon which the priority of a particular process depends on, right? So OS may decide priority for particular process according to their their need, CPU time requirement, memory requirement, IO requirement, or amount of time it is in the system from its submission, right? So let's understand that this algorithm will use priority as a key parameter for selecting any process in the system. So let's take an example. We have, for example, we have this snapshot of the system. At time t0, we have snapshot of the system like processes, CPU time, and priority. So every process has given a priority by OS, right? Let's say we have P1, P2, P3, and P4. Requirement CPU time required is let's say 5, 3, 6, 2, right? And priority of the processes are like 0, 1, 2, 3. So see, in general assumption, we assume that lower the number, lower the number means higher the priority, right? In general assumption. But if it is given in the system question that higher the number, this could be the chance that designer had decided that higher the number tends to leads to higher priority, and lower the number leads to lower the priority. But if it is not given, then basic assumption will be lower the number means higher the priority, means this is having highest priority, and this is having lowest priority, right? This is the general assumption. So let's solve it using priority. Let's start making Gantt chart. for it. See, in this case, we are not having arrival time component. So without arrival time component, we will simply check the priority of a process. So which process will get the chance first will be whichever the process has having low priority, highest priority. And in this case, in our case, lowest number means 0 is the highest priority. That means it will get the first CPU first. So at time t0, P2 will get chance of CPU. It will run for 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, it will be terminated. Then scheduler will select another process. So another process, second highest will be this one. So at second point, it will select P1. P1. It will run for 5 seconds. That means at 8 seconds, it will get terminated, right? And in third number, it will select P4
So
according
CPU
to
time means burst time, na?
burst time. Yes. At third number, P4 will get CPU. P4 will run for the duration of 2 seconds and it will get terminated at 10. And at the last, we have this one, P3. Fourth term will be of P3 and it will run for 6 seconds, and at 16 times 16 it will get terminated. So this is the Gantt chart we have created for this snapshot. Now solve it. Now calculate waiting time and turnaround time for the processes. Waiting time for P1. What is the waiting time for P1? Waiting time will be 3 because at time 3 it came into the system, right? So how much time it waited? It waited from here to here only, right? That means 3 seconds. So 3 seconds. For P2, 0 second. For P3, 10 second. For P4, 8 second. So average waiting time for the system will be 3 plus 0 plus 10 plus 8 upon 4. 18, 21. 21 by 4 equals to 5.25 second, right? And turnaround time TAT for P1. For P1, TAT will be this one, 8 second. For P2, it will be 3 second. For P3, it will be 16 second. And for P4, it will be 10 second. So average TAT will be 8 plus 3 plus 16 plus 10 upon 4. That means 26, 26, 34, 34, 37. 37 by 4. 9.25 second. So for the given question, for the given snapshot of the system, we have just created Gantt chart and we calculated waiting time and turnaround time using priority scheduling, where the key deciding factor for selection of any process for the CPU will be our priority, right? So here we don't have arrival time, so we cannot consider it. Now let's understand it using If what if we are having arrival time given? Let's solve it. When 80 is given, then how the changes may appear? Let's check. So this one is our same question, and now we are having arrival time with us. Let's say arrival time is such that just a minute, let me remove them. Okay, let's say we have arrival time such that given arrival time is let's say at time t0 this one appeared, at time t1 this one appeared, at time t2 this one appeared, and time t3 this one appeared. So we have arrival time with us, so we have to consider it also, right? So there could be chance that they will give both to you, but you need to remember in this case also, now currently we are assuming that we are using preemptive priority algo, right? We are using non-preemptive. Let's make Gantt chart for it. Okay, so if you want to avoid mistakes, you just first create time domain diagram in rough, right? So that you remember that which process comes first and which process comes after. At time t0, only p4 was in the system. Okay, at time t1, p2 came. At time t2, p1 came into the system, and time p4, sorry, p3. At time 3, timestamp 3, p3 came to the system. This time domain, right? Yeah, this will you just create it in rough so that you don't make mistake, right? So let's understand. See the diagram which we have created, diagram, time flow. See, at time t0 in the system we have only one process, so you need not to worry about scheduling. You need not to check any other factor because you have only one process, so you have to give control of cpu to that process only. Okay, so at time t0 p4 has been given the chance, right? So p4 will run for 2 seconds. Okay, for 2 seconds it will run, and at stamp t timestamp 2 it will get terminated, right? So in this case we don't haven't considered priority because it is the only one process in the system that time, right? Now come at this point, at time t2 we have these all processes in the system, so we need to select only out of these processes. This one already completed, so we don't consider it. Now you have to select from p2 and p1. From p2 and p1, now check which process is having higher priority. See, at timestamp t2 we have these two processes in the system. Now you have to select any one. So what operating system will do, it will check its priority. So check the priority of the both the processes. So by checking priority, we conclude that P2 has highest priority, then higher priority than P1. That's why P2 will get chance. Whether it came to the system prior, but it will get chance according to priority rule, right? So it will run for 3 seconds, right? and at fifth point, fifth timestamp, it will get terminated. That means P2 has been terminated. And at this timestamp, at 5 timestamp, we have now two processes in the system. One is P4 and one is P1, right? Now select any one process according to priority. So according to priority, out of these P1 and P4, we conclude that P1 is having higher priority than P4. So P1 will get chance, and P1 will run for 5 seconds, right? And for further 5 seconds, that means 10. At 10 it will get terminated. And in the last, at this point, we have only one process in the system, which is P4, sorry, P3, P3, P3. So P3 will get the CPU, and P3 will run for 6 seconds, right? And at 16th it will get terminated. So for the same question, for same priority, for same CPU time, if we have arrival time, we need to consider arrival time component also. That's why I already mentioned you that arrival time is the key factor, primary factor. You need to consider it, because due to arrival time, total scenario, total calculation will be changed. See the giant chart of both the scenario. Is there any difference? This is the when arrival time is not given, and this one is when arrival time is given. With arrival time, without arrival time, there is difference, right? See the difference here. P2 got the chance first, but here P4 got the chance. Why? Because P4 arrived in the system first. That's why system has no options for selecting any other process. So that's why it got the chance to control the CPU. So let's now calculate waiting time and waiting time waiting time. Okay, for P1, what will be the waiting time? 5 seconds. For P C for P1, waiting time will be when it got the system at timestamp 5. Okay, and when it came to the system at timestamp 2. That means -2. So total waiting time for P1 will be 3 seconds. And for P2 got the system at timestamp 2, and when it arrived to the system, at 1. So 2 minus 1. That means waiting time for the P2 will be 1 second. For P3, it got the system at 10, and when it came to the system at timestamp 3. So 10 minus 3. That means 7 seconds it waited in the system. Now for P4, when it got the system at time T0, so 0 second will be the waiting time for P4. So average waiting time will be 3 plus 1 plus 7 plus 0 upon 4. So average will be 10, 11. 11 by 4, 2.75 second. Check the calculations properly. Maybe the chance I wrongly put 2.75. Now calculate TAT. For P1, TAT will be for P1. When P1 completed here at 10, and when it arrived to the system, P1 arrived to the system at 2. So total turnaround time will be 8 seconds. For P2, it completed by 5, and it arrived to the system by 1, that means 4 seconds will be the turnaround time. Okay, for P3, P3 got terminated at 16, and when it arrived in the system, 3. That means total turnaround time for P3 will be 13, right? And for P4, turnaround time will be 2. 2 minus 0. P4 arrived in the system 0 yet. Okay, so turnaround time for P4 will be 2 seconds. So average turnaround time for the whole system will be 8 plus 4 plus 13 plus 2 upon 4. That means 12, 24, 25, 27. 27 by 12, 27 by 4. So 6.3075 second. The turnaround time in this case will be 6.75. So see the difference for these two cases. In the above case, waiting time was 5.25, and with arrival time it got converted to 2.75, right? And due to the arrival time factor, right? And without arrival time, turnaround time for the system was 9.25, and here with arrival time, when we calculated, it got reduced to 6.75. So see, maybe the chance that they will give you arrival time, or maybe the chance they will not give you arrival time. So we understood both the cases. If arrival time is given, you need to consider it, because in gate they will confuse you by giving arrival time with question, right? So you have to assume priority according to the rule. If they have given the rule, then you have to follow those rules. Otherwise you have to just assume that lower the priority number means higher the priority of that particular process. So this one which we have just understood is the preemptive priority scheduling, right? This one is the first case where we have preemptive version of priority algorithm. Now come to the second part, where we will understand second point, preemptive priority algorithm. Okay, now we will just, what we do, we just take same example, right? Now copy it. We will just understand by the same problem, right? So because here we are allowed to interrupt any running process in the system, right? Means interruption is allowed now. Interruption is allowed now, right? Now we are in case when priority algorithm is implemented in preemptive manner, right? Let's solve it. First, what we have did, we just did time series diagram. At time t0, only p4 is in the system. At time t1, p2 has arrived. At time t2, p1 has arrived, and time p3 has arrived. So this diagram will help you a lot when you solve these type of questions, when you are solving especially in in preemptive questions, in preemptive type scheduling. This time series diagram will help you a lot, right? So use it at regular basis at rough phase, right? Don't show it in the question answer of that particular question, but for your convenience, for ensuring correctness of your solution, use it in your rough page, right? Gantt chart. Now we create Gantt chart for above problem, right? Now magic happens. See, now at time t0, which process will get control? P4, because only one process is there. So P4 got control. Okay. Now after 1 second, after 1 second, P2 has arrived, right? Now P2 has already arrived, and see, at this point time 1, P2 also has arrived, right? P2 also has arrived. Now check, system has to check whether the control should be given to P2 or it will remain to the P4. So for that, it will check the priority of the incoming process, right? So for running process we have priority 2, and for incoming process we have priority 1. That means at this time context switching will happen, and at this point, because P1 incoming process is having lower priority than running process, that means running process should interrupted it should interrupted. That means it run only for 1 second, and after 1 second P1 got the chance for CPU control, right? So now you need to calculate now remaining time. Sorry, for now remaining time for P4 will be 1 second. Now P1 got the control of CPU. After one more second, when P1 is running in the system, P1 or P2? P2, sorry, P2. P2 is running in the system. One process P1 has appeared, right, in the system. Now check the priority of P1. Compare the priority of P1 with P2 running process. Running process is P2. Now compare these two priority of these two processes. Now when comparing, we found that P2 is already having highest priority. That means the control of the CPU remains with P2. We don't context switch at this time because incoming process is having lower priority than running process, right? So for one more second, for one more, definitely if P2 is highest priority, that means it will not give control of CPU to any process. It will complete its process for 3 seconds. For 3 seconds you cannot change it because it is having highest priority, right? So P2 run for 3 seconds. That means total at 4 second it will get terminated. So whichever process get terminated, we are crossing it, right? We are just mentioning it that it is already completed. At time T4 all the processes are in the system, right? Now P2 already completed. Now we have at time T4 we have three processes in the system, which are P1, P3 and P4. Now operating system has to select any one process, and by using priority rule it will select process which is having lowest priority among these. So among these P1, P3, P4, among these P1, P3 and P4, P1 is having lowest priority. P1 is having highest priority. That means P1 will get chance, and because it is having highest priority among these three processes, that means it will complete its task first. So 5 seconds. It will run for 5 seconds. That means 4 plus 5, 9 seconds. Okay. Now P1 completed. So at this point, we have P3 and P4 in the system. Now check the priority of P3 and P4. P3 and P4. Out of these two, P4 is having higher priority, so it will get the chance. P4 will get the chance, and it will run for 1 second, because 1 second is already completed here at the time of context switching. So it will run for 1 second. That means at timestamp 10 it will get terminated. So at 10 we have only one option, P3 remaining. So P3 will get the control and it will run for 6 second remaining time, and at 16th stamp 16th it will get terminated. So see the difference. This is the preemptive version of same question, right? And this is the non-preemptive version of same case. So see the difference. Due to the preemption, total scenario has been changed. You need to take care of the condition. If they are saying, if they are showing you that you need to use preemptive version, that means you need to take care of this, that when a process will get terminated or get suspended or gets waiting queue, right? So due to preemption, here P4 preempted due to the incoming process P2, because P2 is having higher priority than P4. That's why it got suspended at that time. After suspension, it will get CPU again at time 9, timestamp 9. Okay, so see the difference. So total calculation will be changed. So now let's solve it, calculate it. Waiting time. For P1, waiting time will be 4. At time P4, it got the CPU, minus when it arrived, P1 arrived at 2, minus 2. That means 2 second will be waiting time for P1. For P2, let's check. At time 1, it got the CPU, right? And when it arrived to the system, at 1. So waiting time for P2 was 0 second. And for P3 got the system at 10. When it arrived to the system, P3 arrived to the system at 3. So 10 minus 3 equals to 7 seconds, right? And for P4, now check the game. Now P4, in case of P4 appears to the system 2 times, right? So you need to calculate waiting time 2 times. First at time T0, 0 minus 0, plus at time T0 it appears, and after 1 second it removed, and time T0 at the same time it got the control of CPU. So 0 minus 0 is the case for here, this one. This is the case 0 minus 0. Now check here. When it again got the system at 9, okay, 9, and when it got suspended from the system here, from here it got suspended, so 1, 9 minus 1, so total time it waited into the system will be 0 plus 8, means 8 second will be the waiting time for the process P4 second, right? So average waiting time will be 2 plus 7 plus 0 plus 8. That means 7 by 4. That means 17 by 4. 17 by 4 equals to 4.25 second. Okay, now come to the turnaround time. Now calculate turnaround time for individual processes. P1. For P1, turnaround time will be when P1 disappeared from the system, it is at 9. At 9 it disappeared, and when it submitted to the system, P1 appeared submitted to the system at time 2. That means turnaround time for P1 will be 7 seconds, right? And for P2, check P2. P2 got terminated at timestamp 4, and when it appears to the system at 1. At 4 it gets terminated and appeared in 1. That means 4 minus 1, 3 seconds will be turnaround time for P2. For P3, it's get terminated by 16 and it arrived to the system by 3. That means total 30 seconds will be the turnaround time for P3. Now come to the P4. So for P4, it is very easy to calculate turnaround time, because at the time turnaround time you are calculating, you need to just consider last appearance and last completion time of that particular process. So last completion time for particular process P4 is 10. At 10 it got completed, minus when it appeared to the system. It appeared to the system at 0. So turnaround time for P4 will be 10 seconds. So in case of turnaround time calculation, you need not to worry about multiple times appearance of that particular process, right? So now calculate average turnaround time will be 7 plus 3 plus 13 plus 10 upon 4. That will be 10 plus 10, 20, 30, 33 by 4. 8.25 second. So this is the case where we calculated this same problem with preemptive priority algorithm, where we can interrupt running process in the system according to selection rule or scheduling rule. And what scheduling rule we are assuming here is priority. So according to priority and arrival time component, the Gantt chart for the same question will be totally changed and total calculation will be changed, right? So this one is this was our priority scheduling algorithm, and we just checked, or we just calculated it using non-preemptive and preemptive. We just studied preemptive version and non-preemptive version of priority scheduling algorithm. So that's all for today, right? And tomorrow we will start SJF algorithm, right? So that's all. Thanks guys.